Good morning. Welcome to the April meeting of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Coordination Committee meeting. My name is Ryan Mickles. I'm with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. I don't know if you want to go around and provide some introduction.
I can start. Sarah Pennington, also with the TJPDC. I work for the rideshare program.
Thanks, Sarah.
Chris Genzik with City of Charlottesville Parks and Rec. I think I'm not sure we have a new Amanda Ponce yet, so I'm kind of just keeping an eye on stuff from that level and for trails.
It's a good time for me to follow up here. This is Jack Dawson. I'm the city engineer. Amanda and the bike and ped coordinator position used to be in public works engineering. That's transitioning to NDS in the future. I think Mr. Freeze from NDS is going to join us as well. I previously said I would fill in for Amanda in the meantime, and we're sort of splitting those duties till that position can be filled. So I'm going to do my best to hang out here for this whole meeting. We'll see how that goes. And yes, that's that. Pass it on to whoever else is on the city here. Looks like James is on the call.
Hi, Jack, and hi, everyone. Yep, James Freese, Director of NDS. And as Jack noted, we have a new position in the most recently adopted budget for a transportation planner position, which will also absorb the responsibilities of the bike ped coordinator position.
I can go next. My name's Jessica Hirsch-Ballering. I'm a principal planner at Emerald County. If you can't tell, I'm also a little under the weather today, so I'm going to keep my camera off.
No problem, Jessica.
I'm Tommy Safranek. I'm filling in for Allie Hill, kind of representing RTF and the 3-Notch Trail project. So good morning.
Nice to meet you, Thomas.
Hello, my name is Michael Geisert. I'm a bike advocate up in Albemarle County. So working with 3-Notch Trail and various things. Okay.
Nice to meet you. And I guess there's Miss Lucinda Shannon and also Michael Barnes from VDOT.
Sorry, I might have missed it. I am getting a new computer. I didn't have any sound for a minute. So I'm Lucinda Shannon with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission.
Thanks, Lucinda. Okay, so this committee does not review or approve minutes, but the minutes from your March meeting were attached in your agenda packet. I just want to make a quick note that line 71 and line 93 will probably be rewritten, but those minutes are there. Number 1 on the agenda, smart scale applications. I will start. So on April 1st, I was able to submit both the county projects and the MPO projects. One project in particular I want to draw to your attention is the 5th Street multimodal project. The way that project was written, at least from the MPO standpoint, from Harris Street to I believe it's the sleep in. And I'm glad that Michael is here, but this is more a question for Chuck. I think in the past we've been calling it the Holiday Inn, but it seems like the terminus is about 400 feet shorter than that. So, but anyway, with regards to 5th Street multimodal from Harris to out the sleep in, that application was reworked with the help of VDOT. So on the pre-app, it does not say a multi-modal or a shared use path. It simply has an 8-foot sidewalk. From what I'm told, that is not an issue at this point. I think it was done on VDOT's end for their reviewer because of certain design standards. So I just want to bring that to your attention just in case that project comes on your radar or that pre-app comes on your radar. Lastly, in terms of updates, Smart Scale, I'll see if I can share my screen. I have included in your packet the buffers for those projects, the 4 NPO projects and the 4 Albemarle County projects. And I'm not sure if that shows on your screen, but there should be a buffer map, a comprehensive buffer map of all those.
Oh, come on, man.
Can everyone see my GIS screen?
I can see the map, Brian.
Okay. So as you can see, the city shaded in purple, county, some type of orange. With the number of projects that are being submitted, looks like I'm going to need site plans. Looks like I'm going to need site plans for a good portion of the city. And those site plans, I think, have to be those that either are commercial projects or developments or mixed use projects that have some type of commercial element to it. So there will be a lot of site plans attached to these Smart Scale applications. Just wanted to put this on your radar, both the city and the county, that there's a lot of work to be done regarding that. I'm going to need some time. The deadline, I think, for the final application is August 1st. Seems like we won't hear official word until perhaps June 1st. So I do have some time between June and the end of July to incorporate those site plans, but there's going to be a lot. So just put this on your radar. Whenever it's designated from your jurisdiction, from your office, to pass those along, please let them know that the earlier the better. To get them to me would be preferred. That's all that I have. I don't know if anyone has any questions about the map or the NPO or PDC projects.
This is Chris. Did we hear anything more on the River Bridge?
Yes, good question, Chris. So basically, I forgot how that project, in terms of the breakdown and funding, but I think that funding is going to be a big part of whether or not that project scores well. A question that I had posed to Sandy a couple of weeks ago. Would the county be interested in, maybe even the city for that matter, be interested in applying some funds to that project to help the scoring on it? I know that there will probably need to be a resolution of support for sure from the county, but perhaps also from the city regarding that project. But yeah, Chris, if there's anything specific about that, I'll try to see if I can answer it.
Cool, thank you. And for resolutions needed, I guess the powers that be would want you to know that soon to get it on an agenda.
Yeah, guys, this is Michael Barnes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah, I'm having some problems with the sound on my end, so I'm having a little bit difficult following exactly what's going on. But I think that there was some talk about the city having some resolutions in June. I think that's when they're going for the stuff that's on Fifth Street that you all are planning. I think the ones that are affected with the city would probably need to go to that same meeting. We sort of had a brief conversation about that with Jeanette last week.
Yeah, this is Jack. I don't recall all the ins and outs of that, but Brennan as well on that call was going to spearhead that, and we're happy to incorporate that into our resolution. I'm not sure, Ryan, if I owe you an email on that, but we can work it out however it was done last time. As long as y'all provide it, we can wedge it into that resolution that we were looking for Fifth Street.
Okay. Anything more for the city? I know that there's a meeting coming up, I believe, next week regarding your project. Jessica, anything from the county regarding smart scale?
No, I think we've gone over the details of our smart scale projects before, so I won't do that again, but I'm happy to take any questions if people have questions.
And Jessica, what were your 4 projects submitted?
Yeah, our one project doesn't really include any bike ped components. That would be the Belvedere Boulevard continuous green T. So I won't go into any details on that. We are also doing a project on Fifth Street, south of the project you were talking about. Oops, lost my notes here. We're also doing a shared use path project on Avon, again, south of the other projects that are going on that roadway. And then we're doing a project out in Crozet at Old Trail Drive and 250. That's going to be a roundabout, and it's going to include a pedestrian crossing across 250 to ensure that people from like the Old Trail development can access Western Admiral High School.
Thanks, Jessica. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that, but thank you for that. I was kind of curious to see if those were in fact those projects. So thank you.
No problem.
Okay, agenda item number 3, roundtable. I'll hold mine to the end. Wanted to know if perhaps the county and the city would like to talk about some of your upcoming initiatives. I think the county is working on a raise grant or applied for a raise grant. And I think the city may have an OIP initiative going. If you all want to take 5 minutes or so to talk about those, I think Sandy would be interested to hear an update about that. And I would too, of course.
Sure, I can talk about raise, and Tommy can help me as well because he was a big part of that initiative. So we've already submitted our raise grant. It was due last week. This was a really big effort. It's a pretty long narrative to pull together. And it's an incredibly competitive grant. So while we're all very excited and feeling very optimistic, I just want to put it out there that it is super competitive to get a raise grant funded. We will know if it's funded or not in August. So just a couple of months. So for that application, I'll just kind of give a quick overview because a few things changed from maybe other times you've heard about this project. So we were applying for planning funds to look at kind of an alternatives analysis for different routes for the 3-notch trail. And we're looking at a segment between the city of Charlottesville to the community of Crozet, and from there continuing west to the Blue Ridge Tunnel. in Nelson County. Once the alternatives analysis is completed, from there, we would have consultants get us to 30% design for that entire stretch. 30% design it's pretty good. It means we'd have a very clear idea of what the trail would look like for that entire segment, and we'd be ready to start applying for environmental clearances and construction funding. So that's what we applied for. We anticipate that whole thing would cost about $2.1 million. So that's what we requested. Tommy, is there anything you wanted to add? The Three Notch Trail Group was such an instrumental part of pulling together that application. So I want to publicly say thank you, and also just give you the opportunity if there's anything you wanted to add.
I'll just say for the group that, Allie, Jessica, and Kevin did the bulk of the narrative, which was pretty tremendous. You know, they pulled all the data together and made the application work. I spent most of my time trying to hunt down letters of support from different agencies, organizations, businesses. And I mean, everyone I talked to was super supportive about this project. Pretty much everybody gave us a letter of support. The two that jump out of me that didn't was with the National Park Service. You know, we try to get letters of support with the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Shenandoah National Park, but both of them said that they probably would in the future, but it was just too quick of a turnaround for them to feel comfortable signing off on it. But as we keep them updated, I feel pretty confident that we're gonna get letters of support from them, which would be huge for the future with grants like this involving the federal government. So I actually talked with the superintendent of Shenandoah yesterday, and he really wants to dive in and learn more about the Three Notch history as well as this project specifically. So we're excited, and hopefully we get it, and we don't have to worry about doing it again. But yeah, so it was a good process, and like Jessica said, all that material that we compiled can be used for other other endeavors in the future as well.
And then I'll add, this is Chris, I talked to Dwayne. I think Michael knows Dwayne over in Waynesboro. I believe they're applying for a grant that would move forward with their plans to connect up to the tunnel from the city of Waynesboro as well. It's a different line of funding, but it'd be cool if it all came together at the same time.
I actually, Chris, I actually talked to Dwayne yesterday about that question I sent you about Afton Mountain. And
Right.
Not only is Waynesboro applying for a FLAP grant, which is, money to direct to federal lands specifically, but the county also worked with the Afton Mountain owner to apply for a different economic development grant. And they're still waiting to hear back about that. But it was kind of good news that the owner was supportive in working with the county on that. So if you know the history of that whole area, that was kind of cool to hear about. So yeah.
All right, well, thank you for that update.
Ryan, you mind if I share my screen for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
Hopefully this is coming up. Can you see the map I have up there?
I can.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the map that made for Dwayne for his application. And you can see there's two sets of red lines. I guess if you start over on the left here where we see West Main Street, they have a grant to build a trail that's funded from VDOT, build on the East Main Street from the downtown out to just past the Basic City Brewery. That's supposed to go to construction in a couple of years. So what they're really looking for is continuing on East Main Street. There's a red line that's sort of showing along 250, if you can see that, up to where the Crozet Tunnel trail exists today. The green lights are on the bottom sort of right-hand side. And then what's just recently the opportunity is the trailhead on the western side of the Crozet tunnel trail system from that trailhead. They're going to work through the Colony House property, which is an old motel. Apparently a young couple has bought it. They're going to turn it into the Gray Pine Lodge. And the idea of having something that wouldn't quite be a ADA accessible, but more of a foot trail to connect from the western parking lot up to the Appalachian Trail. So that's what the flap grant that Dwayne's working on right now. FYI.
Hey, Michael, can that's the map that Dwayne shared with me yesterday.
Yeah.
And something that jumped out at me was that second red line from the Skyline Drive to the AT. When I was doing my letters of support for our grant, the ATC was very concerned about any potential greenway crossing with the Appalachian Trail. So within their letter of support, they made sure that, you know, they were excited about using the tunnel to connect and wasn't thrilled with the idea of like a specific greenway intersection with the AT. So I don't know what, you know, you all envision with that connector from Skyline Drive to the AT, but I know the ATC would have a lot of questions, I guess, about that, what that would look like.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's news to me. I'm not really involved. I'm just the cartographer for the project.
Okay.
But you'd think that they would, like a lot of people go to Waynesboro from the trail right now, and a safe way to get down the mountain. You'd think they would be supportive of that, but I'll let Dwayne deal with that.
And my guess is that you're not allowed to ride bikes in Shenandoah Park unless you're on Skyline Drive, and it may be that their allergy is a bike crossing. If this is a footpath, that might alleviate that concern. And if
Yeah, I
TNT
think
is along the side of 250, the National Park Service might be like, that's fine, but they have an allergy to people biking off-road in the Shenandoah Park. So maybe we'll be clear going forward with all of these things with that kind of language.
10-4.
Thanks, Michael. In the city, I don't know if you all are in a position right now to discuss your OP initiative.
I can quickly say our Washington Park bike ramp connector from Madison Avenue to Madison Avenue is in bid phase review right now. That one may go to construction this summer, I would imagine. We're moving the Rugby Avenue Trail up into McIntyre Park in through the right-of-way authorization phase pieces right now, with hopes that goes to bid, let's say this summer, and under construction fall, winter, maybe into the spring, depending on how complicated some of the intersection work is. So those are the two big level bicycle projects that the city's working on now. On the trails end, I don't know what Jack and James might have.
Chris.
I don't have anything to add right now.
Yeah, from a trail standpoint, nothing to report.
Yeah, one thing that I had, at least on my roundtable, was just driving into work today, I noticed the bicycle lane right at Monticello and Ridge, bicycle lane on Monticello Avenue, coming off of Ridge, going down towards, Avon, and that it's right adjacent to the Orange Street parking. And I'm just curious if that is adequate. It seems like that there would be some dooring issue going on with folks parking, getting in and out of those Orange Street parking spaces. I didn't know if there was some type of policy or APBP standard that you guys were using, but it just looked pretty tight. I'm not a cyclist, I don't play one on TV, but I'm still a newcomer here back to the area. But something that just caught my attention as I was coming in. And question I raised to Peter Krebs a couple of weeks ago is bicycle and pedestrian counts on trails. and really just citywide, I guess, or countywide in the urban part of the county. Uh, are there any efforts to do follow-up bike ped counts on your trails? And have you thought of,
Amanda passed off, there was a new person at our eco counter vendor place. Shane Sawyer and John with VDOT have helped us with some counters. I've got one sitting here in my office, and I think there's a few I've noticed I need to go download. So yeah, it's probably a good time to remember where all those counters are and see if any need to be moved and what VDOT's taken care of and what we're taking care of. Some of them are internet fed, some of them you have to actually go on site and download the data. So I'll make a note in my calendar and try to reread that handoff note from Amanda and when a new person comes online in terms of the bike lanes and stuff. But I'll check all the trail stuff maybe in the next couple of weeks and submit the data back around.
thanks, Chris. One last thing that I had, this is regarding OneMap, which is something that's actually scheduled for FY23. But I did contact Amanda Ponce, this follow up from the March meeting, and she said that she passed that project off to someone who I'm not familiar with, can't think of the person's name, but Jack, Chris, any thoughts on where I might could get the OneMap info for the city portion?
I guess we need to know what the gap is because, Mark Simpson's involved with GIS and Brian Becker was doing something. We've got on-street stuff and off-street stuff. And I thought we had supplied all that stuff and it was a formatting thing that Brian Becker was working on. If someone can tell us what the gap is, and maybe Mark's still working on something, I'll get a hold of him. I think we could fill it. I'm just not sure what's the missing link right now.
Thank you, Chris. That was the gentleman's name, Mark Simpson. So maybe I'll try to reach out to him as well as Mr. Becker in the county.
Is there like a project site or cut sheet or goals and for OneMap? Does that exist anywhere? Last time we talked about this is the first time I heard about OneMap. And so we're happy to do the best we can, but I'm curious if there's a sort of a scoping document or something about the ultimate goal here. So I can review that before I get with Mark, who IT is pretty swamped right now, I can tell you. But so the better armed I am or equipped with information of what the goal is here, the better I can probably motivate that completion.
Yeah, Jack, that's a good question. I think that was part of the discussion at the last meeting. I know that Michael had raised that. There was a question about whether this was going to be a public document or whether this is going to be a planning tool for staff. I've just very back of the envelope did a flow chart for my boss, Sandy Shackelford, and we'll be discussing that. I do know that looking at the attribute table, which may be helpful for you, Chris, and Jack, and perhaps Mark Simpson, I could pass that along, but the county did provide me with their GIS files. So there may be some value in just having at least those files sent over for your IT folks to look at.
Is there a higher level description of sort of what we're trying to achieve here? Because without being intimate with the attribute tables, it's going to get muddy with potential sidewalks and however we draft sidewalks on both sides is not always geographical. It's sort of like a label on a center line kind of thing, that sort of thing. And so is there a higher level outline of what this is supposed to look like or how comprehensive it's supposed to be?
Yeah, Jack, that's a good question. I'm going to have to put Peter and or Michael on the spot here. Peter, from your institutional knowledge, can you enlighten me and
Boy, I popped in at just the wrong time, didn't I? Okay, so there probably should be some kind of like one pager about the project. I mean, I know it's I think it's in the MPO's work plan, so at least there's that paragraph. But I do know that Mark Simpson knows about this. The question is like how much his memory needs to be refreshed. He may say, "Oh yeah, it's at this stage. This is the next thing that needs to happen." He may say that, or he may say, "It's one map. It's ringing a bell. I don't remember it that well." That I can't speak to. But broadly speaking, the purpose is to have a planning tool so there can be regional or at least MPO level planning for projects that cross borders. So like the suite of smart scale applications that are happening on Avon and are happening on Fifth Street, for example, are like total examples of something that would be much easier if we had a single data source. And just the history is that to make the current conditions for the regional plan was extremely difficult because there was no single repository. Whether the project exists as anything other than a planning tool that the localities use with the MPO sort of housing it, or whether it has some level of public accessibility is a question that I think you might actually want to ask the MPO policy board. I don't feel like I'm the one that could say this is how it could be. And I don't know that it's appropriate for a staff person to say that either. My own recommendation would be that absolutely it should be a staff tool. And I also think that it would make our collective work easier if there were some level of accessibility on the public level. So for example, if a homeowner buys a house that is next to a planned shared use path, it would be easier if they knew that when they bought the house, rather than us at the project moment saying, "Oh, this thing's been on the books forever. You simply didn't know about it." There are disadvantages of having people see lines on a map that cross their property, or there are reasons not to, but it's probably some kind of subset. I think certainly from an open data perspective, Charlottesville has a very good open data portal for existing inventory. Having an open data portal for existing inventory that's regional, I think the exact same logic applies for that. The level of like planned, proposed, certainly like any kind of note fields that talks about conversations with property owners or that kind of thing. Even the status of like easements or that kind of thing, that may not want to be public. I'm sorry, I gave you a long answer and you wanted a quick, like, here's the thing. But what I would say is like, I hear where Jack's coming from, and I do think it would be good to like codify this thing and say, this is what the scope of this thing is. But I also think Mark might, like a simple phone call to Mark might yield a simple answer back from Mark.
Yeah, that.
If you don't mind, let me take a quick
sense.
stab at that.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The problem is we've had multiple staff turnovers. The idea originally was that neither the county or the city maps or trail plans were on a single file. There was something written a long time ago. See if I can't go back and dig up something. I think, Jack, what you're asking for is very reasonable and probably something that we should do. I don't want to speak for Sandy and for Ryan, but maybe that's something we should really pull together over the next month or so to make sure we have a clear direction of purpose, so that when we're asking you GIS folks, you have something. That seems like a very reasonable ask. I think Peter hit a lot of the intent, as a planning document to show existing as well as officially adopted sort of within a comprehensive plan or other plan to show a trail. I think it was also an idea of being able to show some of the trails that were conceptual in nature, maybe, sort of as part of an alignment analysis. And I think that where we got tripped up last time in part was getting the GIS folks to get the information attributed in the same way so they could be, queried. There was also a QA/QC process that needed to go through the line work. And then finally, there was this big decision of whether the end goal of this thing was something that, John Q. Public could have on their smartphone, sort of help them around town. My basic thought is that seems like a great goal, but that may be a latter goal. So why don't we, Ryan, I don't know what you think about this. Maybe you and Sandy and I can sit and talk about, writing up a short one-page description of what the goals are and have people agree upon what the goals of the effort are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Michael, I think that'll be helpful. I know that Sandy and I, we internally have planned to meet on this, and like I said, I've got to get with her on sort of my idea of that flow chart. But yeah, I think that's doable.
I'd be happy to. I know there's something that was considered several years ago when this was first started, and I probably have my notes on that someplace. Maybe that'd be a good place to start off. Because Jack, I think you're right. Your GIS folks are probably busy. A request that's not well defined is probably going to maybe not yield the best returns from them.
Looking at the attribute table that I got from the county and the city, to me, there are a bunch of fields in there that have little to no data. And if we just go with just those fields that have already been laid out by the county and the university, this may not be such a huge effort to go through that trouble, Michael, to do the one pager and all of that. I think at this point, we're just trying to have the city's information match up with the county and the university. So it may be just a matter of showing those attributes or those fields that we want, those layers that we'd like to have. Just might eliminate some time and effort on your end and Sandy's end as well. And Peter, I know that you just sent something through the chat. I don't want to skip over that, but what was
Yeah,
that?
so this notes has, like, for example, it has sidewalks in there, right? And so not being a GIS pro myself or power user, whatever you want to call it, I do know that when you establish the things, it's important that sort of what Ryan's talking about here is that the attribute tables are coordinated, or at least there's some forethought put in of, are there additional attributes required as this develops from potential, accessible, and especially when you're talking about sidewalks, now we're getting into, are we going to label advised sidewalk connections from this trail to that trail, accessibility issues, barriers in the sidewalk, all that stuff. And I mean, I think I understand the general intent, but it does seem like it's pretty general at this point. And if it's going to be a usable product at the end, like, for example, if all this stuff is loaded correctly, it shouldn't be hard to minimize some information and push out a public accessible one, whether that's just projects that are actually completed and connecting sidewalk routes from trails to trails. If you're getting into a full blown out, we got a lot of sidewalks that are 100 feet long and end in the city. And so the relevance of some of that it's just, it would be easier if there was a formal conceptualization of what we're trying to achieve, then we could push this through the system and get necessary staff to vet this data.
Yeah, I think you have it right, Jack. And there's a lot of other complications, like in the GIS world, like some roads are lines, some are, I believe driveways are actually shown as shapes, and it's hard on the GIS level, but having this information stay like at a conceptual level is probably the best, and using other ways for keeping track of detailed nuances, like this isn't going to incorporate the percentage of slope or something like that, but it is useful to know that there is a sidewalk from, say, the county line to I don't know, Quarry Road or something like that, or 50 feet short of Quarry Road or 50 feet past Quarry Road. That level of like conceptual has sidewalk, is planning to have sidewalk, I think it is a big step forward for us already.
Yeah, again, I think if we document what it is we're trying to achieve, then that would help. Yeah, we just another chat here. We just gave somebody from UVA a bunch of our GIS last week. I'm assuming that's associated with what just popped up here in the chat.
Okay. Wanted to see if Sarah, Rideshare, if there were any updates. I think you all have Bike Month coming up. Thanks for your report last month regarding it, but I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to share, or Lucinda, if there were any things that you'd like to share with the group.
Yeah, I'll let Lucinda take our May promotion. She's been spearheading a lot of that.
Thank you, Sarah. I was gonna let you do it. So yeah, May is Clean Commute Month along with Bike Month, and we're really excited about it. We are doing a photo contest kind of thing. It's just more like a drawing. We'll have drawings every week. We're asking people to submit pictures of themselves doing clean commute activities, which can be pretty much almost anything that has to do with going to work or school or lunch from work in a clean commute way. And we're just asking people to put them on social media with the hashtag #CleanCommuteCville. And then once a week, we will gather all the pictures together and pull a drawing and have prizes. So we got some gift certificates to Stonefield, the Stonefield businesses up there. And we also have 2 bike shops that I just got a new computer and all of my notes are gone. We have 2 bike shops that donated. One donated a gift certificate worth about $50, and the other one t-shirts. Community Bikes donated t-shirts, and I don't know about the other one. So we're still looking for a few small prizes, but I think we have enough to start off with. And I will be emailing more information to stakeholders and partners, asking people to share like notices about it on public media. We're going to have a poster. We have a web page for people to kind of land on and find out more information. And that's all.
Oh, one other thing, we have a card that we have been working with a local firm to get designed specifically for cyclists, because our app and rewards program actually syncs with Strava. So if cyclists are already using Strava for any of their rides, all they have to do is link those 2 accounts, and it kind of works in a seamless way for them to start earning rewards for their trips. So we are getting a card that we're going to put out into some bike shops. And we would like to get them in the hands of anyone and everyone who thinks that they have a venue or an avenue to deliver those to cyclists. So we're open to ideas. If anyone has, places that we should get those cards to, we're looking to get those printed probably starting next week, but we can certainly run additional printing of them if we need more. So.
Lucinda and Sarah, thank you for those updates. Anyone have any questions for Sarah or Lucinda?
Yeah, just a quick question for either one. Are you guys going to be doing some publicity around that? Is that going to start in May?
Yeah, we will be definitely posting and doing some boosted or sponsored posts on social media. There will probably be some radio ads. We're going to shift kind of our standard radio ad to promote Clean Commute.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll help you get the word out about that.
Thank you, Peter. We'll make sure to keep you in the loop. C3 has also signed on to help get the word out and promote it on their channels as well. And I feel like maybe a couple other people, the sponsors have all said that they would like to share stuff on their social media, but yeah, the wider spread it can be, the better. So thank you.
I'm getting the website. I'll put it in the chat.
Thanks, Lucinda. Any members of the public, either Mr. Gruser, Thomas, any of you have anything that you want to share with the group?
I just wanted to take a second to plug the Monday Piedmont Mobility Alliance meeting, which a bunch of you already go to that. I want to underline something which is cool, which is Loudoun County has a really robust rural roads preservation program, and we're having some folks from Loudoun County come down. It's a Zoom base, so they're actually phoning in to tell us about what Loudoun County is doing as far as preserving rural roads and being intentional. And it'll be a great chance to ask some questions and even go a little deeper. So for example, one question that I'm going to ask them is, does Loudoun County's rural roads program have a special designation or treatment for roads that are not gravel but are being still designated for recreation, besides just putting a bikes on road sign?
Thanks, Peter. Thomas, Mr. Gizzard.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to share.
I'm going to the Active Mobility Summit or meeting. Looking forward to it.
I will be there as well, Thomas.
I hope to get there. I have company in town, so we'll see. It sounds exciting, but I hope I can get to it.
One thing also that I think we'll talk about at the Mobility Alliance, which I think will be interesting, is this Charlottesville Bike Fest that happened last weekend. Actually, without a lot of support from local groups, we were all sure that they wouldn't get their permit to close down Preston Avenue for a full day, and they got it. It was all done on short notice, but now if we have a year to plan out what might a Charlottesville Bike Festival look like, maybe it could be quite interesting.
Yeah, that was exciting. That was really exciting. See the bikers going on that track. That was awesome.
Peter, did you say that the organizers were going to be at that meeting on Monday?
Yeah, they're part of the Mobility Alliance.
That's what I thought. So
Mhm.
Allie and I want to definitely touch on that because we're trying to work on the Three Notch Trail event for the fall as well. And I think there's some crossover there.
Maybe Albemarle Bike Fest.
Yeah.
In the fall, like, wouldn't that be cool? Have a Charlottesville Bike Fest in the spring and a Albemarle Bike Fest in the fall, like two different, you know, faces of sort of the same thing.
Good idea, Peter. Well, thank you all. If there is nothing more, then we have concluded our meeting for April. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.